You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, January 17th, and we've got some coaching updates to go over as it pertains to the 49ers and their defensive coordinator position and their special teams coordinator position. Not much else happening around, 49ers parts. There's a lot of quarterback discourse, as you can imagine, that always happens around this time of the year. It's inevitable. It's annoying, and for the most part, I choose to not partake in it. So you won't see me arguing about any quarterback and, just any contract discussions regarding Brock Purdy, at least not right now. We've got all off season to do that. Hopefully not all off season, but let's just cut to the chase. The 49ers news regarding some coaches. So you recall Brian Griese was getting some interest from the Jets, I believe, for their head coaching position, right? So the latest report on that is that he turned down that interview, which is great. Good for you, Brian Griese. I mean, at least we know the lights are on up here, and he knows better than to take the Jets job or even an interview. They can't be entertained, those Jets, because they are just always a shit show. But so Brian Griese, I think we can assume, will remain the 49ers quarterback coach. Although I did see people wondering, is he not entertaining, a head coaching position because maybe he's going to get some type of promotion with the 49ers? Who knows? Like maybe the 49ers giving him a raise that we don't know about, or maybe he will have added responsibility this season. He's been with the 49ers for, a few years now. So I think it would make sense at this point for his role to grow like within the offense. So who knows, maybe he becomes like passing game coordinator and I don't know, just something added to his title. We'll see. I'm just speculating, as others have as well. But like I said, good news that Brian Griese not going to be going anywhere, it seems, for the time being. Now, as far as the 49ers and, the long-awaited defensive coordinator search, we did get some, it's not really news or exactly a report, but Matt Barrows, 49ers beat writer, joined the Tim Kawakami podcast, as he does on the 49ers Plus Minus show. And they discussed the 49ers DC candidates. And of course, Robert Saleh was discussed at length. And Matt Barrows had to say this, quote, "It's Robert Saleh or bust, really, because they haven't done much work with anybody else to this point. I've heard that they already told Saleh, we will make you the highest paid defensive coordinator in all the land if you sign with us. So now it's just a matter of waiting for Saleh," end quote. This is exactly what I think a lot of us expected, some of us feared, that the 49ers had their hearts set on Robert Saleh being their next defensive coordinator, and they're simply just going to wait for him. And I say wait because there are other people interested in Robert Saleh's services and in a much better position than the 49ers are offering. That these teams, the Jags, the Raiders, and the Cowboys, are interested in Robert Saleh as a head coach. So these three teams, the Jags and the Raiders, have already interviewed with him as of this week. The latest report I saw regarding the Cowboys was that they're expected to request an interview for Robert Saleh. So that was the latest, right? We don't know if that has happened yet. We don't know if he's, going to take that interview. I assume he would, but those right now are the three teams. And so the carousel continues. In the meantime, the 49ers are essentially waiting for the chips to fall with Robert Saleh and seeing if, he will maybe not get offered one of these jobs and in turn would then become a defensive coordinator for the 49ers. I think there is mutual interest. Like, obviously, I think Robert Saleh would be interested in coming back, but obviously only if he doesn't get any one of these jobs. And maybe there's another job that would be interested, or another team that would be interested in him as a head coach. Any of those teams don't offer him a head coaching position. That would be the only way that he would return to the 49ers. Now, again, as for right now, you got 3 teams who are on the line, and you're the 4th team, that's waiting for his services. So I don't like this strategy of Robert Saleh or bust, because what if he does get offered one of these head coaching positions, right? Like, then what? Then, okay, you are going to have to interview more candidates, and you're going to be behind the 8 ball in this coaching search already. When, by the way, as the 49ers themselves mentioned, the one advantage to them, being a not playoff team, a non-playoff team this season, is that they get a head start on their coaching search, right? But they themselves are eating away at the time that they have by waiting for Robert Saleh. So that's a bit of my concern with this whole situation. It doesn't hurt to continue to interview candidates in the meantime while you wait for Robert Saleh, because if he doesn't end up returning to San Francisco, hey, at least you've already done your homework on some other guys, and then you can move quickly on, hiring one of the guys in your candidate pool. But it seems like the 49ers are pretty content with waiting to see what happens with Robert Saleh, which I don't like that. I don't know. But of course, it could all end up working out for them, right? Like, Robert Saleh may not get offered any of these head coaching positions. These teams have a plethora of other candidates that they're interviewing as well, right? And I can't imagine Robert Saleh, as of right now, is at the top of the list for any of those teams. But, who knows? Like, yeah, if he doesn't end up being a head coach, he can return to the 49ers. That, of course, would be the best case scenario for them, that they're clearly hoping on and banking on. And I also seen people mention, like, hey, Jeff Ulbrich, who is constantly mentioned as, an option for the 49ers at DC as well. Mutual interest there too. I think with them, Saleh and Ulbrich, being buddies, and also with Ulbrich having been with Saleh with the Jets, he can conceivably bring Jeff Ulbrich to the 49ers staff. Like, that will always be an option as well. Except Jeff Ulbrich has options elsewhere too. Like, he's getting interest as a defensive coordinator. I forgot which team was interested in him as DC. I think it was the Falcons, actually, Atlanta Falcons. So he's getting interest. As of right now, I haven't heard anything of the 49ers requesting an interview for Jeff Ulbrich, even for the DC position. I'm almost wondering if, out of respect for what they've already told Saleh, which is, hey, like, we want you back. We're going to wait for you. We're going to make you the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league. Maybe with all that they've said to him, they don't want to give him the wrong impression by continuing to interview candidates in the meantime. Maybe they don't want to scare him off and have him think, oh, well, they're looking at other candidates, so they must not want me that bad. Maybe that's what they want to avoid. I don't know, but it's a strange situation. Certainly not the way that I would conduct a defensive coordinator search, but I'm also not the 49ers. So I'm just here to report what has happened to this point. So very interesting. But as we know, right now, the confirmed DC candidates for the 49ers that we know of: Robert Saleh was interviewed, Deshae Townsend, the Lions DB coach and passing game coordinator, and Brandon Staley, which we haven't officially heard that he's interviewed for the position yet. But Kyle Shanahan, in the season, the post-mortem, you could say, press conference, did mention that Brandon Staley would get a look at defensive coordinator as well. Which, don't panic about that one. That one, to me, is more so just out of respect to Brandon Staley, like, thank you for your service. We will give you an interview. You can put this on your resume, kind of deal. I don't think he's actually getting legitimate interest from the 49ers to be the DC. But, I mean, there's always that possibility that, hey, if Robert Saleh doesn't come back and, you wait for the chips to fall, and before you know it, all the other DC candidates are not available, maybe, then you might be stuck with Brandon Staley. That would be worst case scenario for the 49ers. Brandon Staley at defensive coordinator and Nick Sorensen returning as the special teams coordinator. I don't want to live in that alternate reality where that's a thing. So we'll see. We'll see if the 49ers do continue to entertain other candidates in the meantime while they wait for Robert Saleh. And we'll see if, Robert Saleh continues to entertain these other teams. I imagine he will, right? He wants to be a head coach. That's the other thing. Like, if Robert Saleh, even this cycle, doesn't end up being offered a defensive coordinator position, head coach position, if he doesn't, and he returns to the 49ers, I mean, he's probably going to be gone within 1 or 2 years, even if the 49ers make him the highest paid defensive coordinator. Like, he's still going to want to be a head coach, right? So, I don't know. Like, the 49ers are putting a full court press for Robert Saleh just for him to either not end up taking the DC job or taking the DC job and being gone within a year or two. But it doesn't seem like that bothers the 49ers at all. Like, I think they're okay with having him as a rental, basically, and being in this situation again in a couple years. That doesn't seem to bother them. I do get it. I like Saleh. I think the fact that what he is, what he brings you, you can get along with him, all those things, the familiarity with it all, I think is attractive to the 49ers in this case, wanting to bring him back as this DC. He's known, he's the known thing, which makes him safe. And the 49ers are very much safe. So I get it. I get why they would want to bring Saleh back. I just really hope it works out for them and for Saleh as well. But again, like, if Saleh returns to the 49ers and he is able to bring Jeff Ulbrich into his staff, then not only do you have Robert Saleh for 1 or 2 years, but then you also potentially have the contingency plan of having Ulbrich, be able to take over for Robert Saleh after that, right? So that's, I think, attractive to the 49ers as well, if that's something that, they can swing. So that's what's going on with the 49ers defensive coordinator search. Not much, to be honest with you. And it increasingly seems like it is Robert Saleh or bust for the 49ers. So we'll see what comes of that. We'll continue to monitor the situation. As far as special team coordinator options, the 49ers did say, like, they'll give Nick Sorensen a look as a special teams coordinator because they want to find a way to keep Nick Sorensen around. Again, like, we haven't really heard anything since then. Like, is Sorensen okay with that? I imagine, he is, because I'm not sure what other teams would be interested in him. Like, it's not like he's going to get hired away. So it's kind of like, I either stay or, I leave. Those are kind of his options. He doesn't have a lot of options. Nick Sorensen does. So they're going to find a way to keep him on the staff. And, I can see why Nick Sorensen would be interested as special teams coordinator. He's done it before. Whether he's a better special teams coordinator than he was defensive coordinator, has to be, right? Like, can't be much worse. And on that same side of the token, he has to be better than Brian Schneider, right? Right? Like, hopefully. Yeah. So Nick Sorensen, one of the special team coordinator candidates for the 49ers. We also know that Jet Motkins has interviewed for the position. He's the Lions' a special teams assistant coach. as is Chris Banjo, who's the Broncos assistant special teams coach. And the other confirmed interview was Chris Tabor, who is the former Panthers interim head coach and special teams coordinator. So this is like quite frankly, I'm intrigued by this list. I'm a little more intrigued by the special teams candidates than I am the DC candidates, because we're not getting much from the DC candidates. We only got like 2 confirmed interviews, and Brandon Staley. Doesn't move me. But special teams, like, I like that they're looking at teams who are good at special teams, like Lions, Broncos. Broncos, by the way, just this morning, saw that they fired their special teams coach. So Ben Kotwicka, their special teams coach for Denver, who Chris Banjo works under, has been fired. So who even knows if Chris Banjo is staying, or maybe the Broncos promote him. Although word on the street is that Sean Payton, who loves bringing all his buddies from New Orleans to Denver, would be interested in Darren Rizzi, who's the Saints interim coach and former special teams coordinator. Well, that makes a lot of sense, because that seems like something Sean Payton would do. So it's not so much that Ben Kotwicka was bad with the Broncos. In fact, he was pretty good. But yeah, it's just Sean Payton wanting to bring his friends on board. So don't know if Ben Kotwicka will be a candidate for the 49ers, but I mean, it would make sense, right? Like if they were interested in Chris Banjo enough to give him an interview, the Broncos assistant special teams coach, why not be interested in the coordinator, right? Now he's available. So that could be an option for the 49ers. Now, I want to show you guys, some statistics on, let's see, the EPA of special teams. So expected points on special teams for the teams that the 49ers have interviewed candidates from. So Lions, like I said, assistant special teams coach in Jet Motkins. Lions special teams is good. They're number 3 in expected points. So they're in the plus. The Broncos also in the plus this season. So again, it's not the fact that Ben Kotwicka has been, bad. Like he had a plus special teams unit this year. They were number 1 in punt returns. A lot of that had to do with Mims, good returner, and then their kicker Will Lutz was pretty good as well. Of course, they had the blunder with the Chiefs with the game-losing blocked field goal, but I mean, the 49ers have had way more blunders than that. Like, that's child's play. So, yeah, again, Ben Kotwicka seems pretty good. And, yeah, Chris Banjo, also good. Now, Chris Tabor is a little more interesting, right? Because he hasn't been coaching since 2023. So, with his time, obviously, we're not going to count his tenure as the interim head coach of the Panthers. We're going to look back at when he was the actual special teams coordinator. And this is from SF Data Niners on Twitter. Great account, by the way. Posts a lot of great analytics for the 49ers. So you see here let's see. So this goes back to 2022 and 2022 full season, and then 2023 weeks 1 through 12. So that's when Tabor was the special teams coordinator for the Panthers. And you could see where they ranked in that span. They were 5th in special teams EPA, very much in the plus, right? So he did a good job with the Panthers. And so that makes him a really intriguing candidate. And I know a lot of people have mentioned, other candidates as well that are not available, but could potentially be. And why shouldn't the 49ers kind of look at those guys as well? Who was it? Fassel from the Cowboys, right? Like they're a special teams coordinator. John Fassel, sorry. So John Fassel, maybe he would be interested in leaving the Cowboys. Not sure. That hasn't been confirmed, like something that the 49ers are interested in, but something that, fans are certainly interested in. And people have mentioned the Notre Dame special teams coordinator? Yeah, I think it's Notre Dame special teams coordinator, an option as well. But I'm, as it stands, I'm fine with the current list that the 49ers have. And I wouldn't hate it either if they, Ben Kotwicka, who's suddenly available from the Broncos, if he gets a look as well. I think it makes a lot of sense, actually. Let's see. So, yeah, that's pretty much the latest for the 49ers. And here I'm seeing this. I don't know if this is it could be relevant at all to the 49ers, but Patriots pass rush guru Joe Kim won't return for the 2025 season. Just saw that. What is his actual position? Just says he's pass rush guru. Oh. It says he's the director of skill development. Interesting. Okay. Never heard of that title, but just seeing, could he be a DC? It doesn't look like that's really in his experience. But, this is definitely an interesting cycle of coaching searches for the 49ers. And again, I'm not saying I agree with it. I don't think I do, actually. The fact that they're waiting for Robert Saleh. I like Saleh, but I want them to continue to interview other candidates in the meantime. But maybe they don't want to upset Saleh and scare him off. So maybe that's why they're being a little mum on anyone else that they might be interested in. No idea. But yeah, it's never a dull moment with this 49ers team, as we know. Matt Barrows also kind of thinks that this will go on for at least another week, and maybe even in 2 weeks would be the soonest that we get some resolution to all this, because, again, we're waiting on Saleh, and he, to be fair, the 49ers are taking their time on their coaching search, but other teams are as well. Like, all the other teams who have head coaching positions are none of them have gotten hired except the Patriots, who, Vrabel was going to be head coach. Like, that was the easiest decision ever. Like, I don't think they even intended on interviewing anyone else. So from the other teams that have head coaching vacancies, I think they're all moving pretty slowly. And I think even teams who have, DC openings available have been, doing their due diligence on a number of guys, haven't made any decision yet. So, I guess it's fair to wait and let the process play out a little bit, but it's a risky game as well, in my opinion. But maybe they're banking on the fact that, they think, hey, like, we have a good foundation on this team. We have a recipe for success. 10 plus potentially draft picks for the 49ers. They'll look to bolster the defensive line, I imagine. So, it's an attractive DC opening, I think, for all the candidates that are available. So maybe in their minds, they're like, hey, if we don't get Saleh, there's going to be someone else interested in taking this position over other positions. So who knows? I don't know. But we'll see how the 49ers continue to play this, and I'll continue to give you guys updates. I'll leave you guys with this on Brock Purdy, right? Like, there's a lot of talk about what his contract may look like. I'm going to go ahead and give my range, which it's a small range. Like, the range to me is 56 to 61 million. That's it, which is not big. So, which I think tells you that, I don't think this negotiation is going to take as long as some others in the past have. I think there's a large incentive to getting this done ASAP, and I think there's not much to argue against as far as what the market is for quarterbacks right now. And based on what Brock Purdy has done, he deserves to ask for more than Jordan Love. He deserves to ask for more than Trevor Lawrence. Both of those guys getting $55 million APY. So I think as far as APY goes, that range is going to be 56 to 61 million. But APY doesn't even matter. It really doesn't. Like, all that matters is the guarantees. What is that going to look like? I think that's the big question. That I don't know. I don't have a number for you, but certainly not going to argue about it on social media. So whatever the number is going to be is what the number is going to be. And we will try our best to not overreact by the initial numbers, because what do I always tell people? It's like, you got to wait for the details to come out, right? And usually the details show that it's not as bad as you initially thought when you saw the initial numbers. So always wait for those final details. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see who the 49ers, or, if the 49ers get this done, hopefully soon. A lot going on for them right now, I think, in the background. Now, as far as my draft sheet, if you guys don't know, it's draft season officially. I'm actually going to be at the Senior Bowl. When is that? Next week? 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, so a week and a half, basically, that I'll be out there. And I have my draft sheet ready to go because the Hula Bowl has already happened. The CGS All-Star has already happened. We're starting to get those reports of who the 49ers have spoken with. So that is what my draft sheet primarily is focused on right now, from now through April, pretty much. And another thing that's happening is that my prospect interviews, I'm starting that up from now until April as well. And so I'm planning to have a prospect on later this afternoon for an interview. And by the way, those interviews are exclusively on YouTube. So audio listeners, if you are interested in those, head on over to YouTube to check that out. But I'm waiting for this player to confirm before I announce anything. So just waiting for him to respond to my message from today. So we'll see. If it doesn't, if it doesn't happen today, lining up some other ones. So like I said, there'll definitely be some more prospect interviews for anyone interested in those. More draft content coming. Appreciate all of you who stick around for the off season. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit that notification bell so you know when I go live, because it's the off season and the schedule is a little more random. So make sure you hit that so YouTube lets you know when I'm going live. So for now, folks, have a good Friday. Have a good rest of your weekend. Anyone who's in the vicinity of the cold snap happening in several states, Colorado included, stay warm out there. All right. And then California folks, if you're in LA, still thinking about you, and, stay safe out there. For now, have a good rest of your Friday and rest of your weekend, folks. Now, peace.